Hi, my name is Paul Friedman. Today's topic is how to deal with an unreasonable spouse. And some of you may know that I actually began my marriage-saving career as a divorce mediator. It wasn't until I was down the road a bit that I realized I can be helping marriages instead of ending them. So, how to deal with an unreasonable spouse is something I had to learn early on while I was a mediator. In fact, that's how I got into this. I thought through communication, someone can really transform their marriage into a great marriage. And I was a good mediator. I got people calm down, got them to be able to articulate their point of view without emotions. But boy, did I have a lot of education afterwards. It's not just about communication. The key here is actually emotions, really is. So it doesn't matter whether you're male or female, whether you're husband or wife. It doesn't matter because all of us are kind of cursed with emotions. Now, I know the psych community talks about, well, you have to honor and respect your emotions, but that's just not true. I have a background also in developing myself spiritually and using all kinds of methods and techniques, and I applied them to marriage. One of the fundamental key understandings that people have who are spiritually minded, and I don't mean just religious, but spiritually minded, understand something very deep. You are not your emotions. You have emotions. You see, you're not your mind. You have a mind. Your mind has emotions, and emotions play a vital role in our lives. But for the most part, they should be controlled, absolutely controlled. Why should your emotions control you? And so what's going on when you have an unreasonable spouse is two things. One, they are coming from a place of emotion. It's all emotion, whether it's anger, fear, or whatever. They're having an emotional reaction to something that you may have said or you may have done, and they're not able to approach the topic purely, logically, cleanly. More importantly, they can't approach it lovingly. So they get trapped. And that's where the unreasonableness comes in. Now, in negotiations, which is what divorce mediation was all about, everything was easy. I could use a whiteboard. I could identify values, get them to identify values, put pros and cons. Pretty simple stuff. But when you're married, you don't want to go there. You don't want to go into this realm of reasonableness. Well, reasonableness takes on a different context. Because in marriage, your context is love. It's not whether he's right or she's right, or whether this happened this way or happened another way based on how an individual sees it. Your marriage is based on love, on seeing your spouse from a loving point of view. From, what does that mean? It means having compassion. It means having understanding. It means being a good listener. And it's not just men who are bad listeners. Both. Males and females are bad listeners. Because what happens is we get into our minds what is right. Oh, that's not right. Why not? Well, it's just not right. No nonsense. If someone has that perspective, it's right for them. And if you disagree with it, It means it's not right for you until you recognize, well, it's right for them. Then what happens? When you have this perspective of what is their point of view, where are they coming from, what is their perspective that what they're thinking or saying or insisting upon is reasonable, and then you understand them better and you realize they're not unreasonable. Maybe they are ultimately misguided because maybe your point of view is based on pure logic. But if you really love somebody, you don't point that out. You work with it. You work around where they're getting hung up. So you see, working with an quote unquote, now I'm putting quotes around it, unreasonable spouse is not so much in finding a way to manipulate them, to get them to see it your way. That's not what you want to do. What you want to do is you want to change your perspective from an analyzing perspective where you're weighing things to a loving perspective where you're not even concerned that much about the outcome. You're more concerned with how are they feeling? What's going on for them? Why are they, for instance, potentially upset or potentially stubborn or stern? Or their heels are dug in. Why? And how can you help them be in a calmer place? Not help them see it your way, but help them be in a calmer place. Now, if you're resistant to their point of view, they're not going to go into a calmer place. They're going to become more stuck in their perspective. It's natural. That's how we are. We are naturally defensive because our minds always resort back to one of two places, either the soul or the body. And the body is always saying survival. So until you as an individual come into a place of, I am a soul, so nothing can bother me, there's going to be conflict. Do you see this? Because this is a very deep topic. The main point is that if you really want your marriage to have great communication, it's not as much about learning communication skills, which you can learn. I teach them. They're in both of my books. They're in the courses. But more importantly is working on yourself to come from that place of love that was the genesis of your getting married. So if you learn how to become the soul, because you're soulmates, right? You're not going to have these unreasonable spouse situations. You're not going to encounter confrontations, arguments, resistance. All these things go away when you're managing your marriage correctly, which means managing yourself correctly, which means learning how to understand what marriage is, learning how to understand what you are. I use the term what for a reason, and learning how to understand what your spouse is, be you or they, male or female. It's very cool. You know, the thing that I discovered about marriage when I started to help people with their marriages is that there's a lot of moving parts to it, but it's almost simple when you start to understand certain things. Most people don't even ask, why did I get married? They don't. They think, oh, I married him or her because. No. Why did you get married in the first place? It's an interesting question. You may be saying, well, I wanted a companion. I wanted to be with my soulmate. There's a more basic reason. You wanted to be happy. You wanted to be happier every single day. And when you learn how to live marriage. Because you do have to learn. You can't just think, oh, I'm having this one problem, and if I fix this, it's going to be better, or everything will be okay. That's all nonsense. You really want to learn about marriage. You really want to learn these things, and it'll change your life, because your marriage will then be lived for the purpose that you originally got married for, to be happier every single day. And I'm going to take it a step further. You should be enjoy. Like, how can I handle all these wonderful things that are happening to me? Joy. Every single day. It should get better. Every day you should go, wow, if today is as good as yesterday, I'm going to be blown away. And when you know what you're doing, every day is better than yesterday. Okay, I hope this was helpful. I really do. I hope it's given you enough to think about, so that I know, what you wanted was an answer for, well, I should say this, or I should say that, or I shouldn't do this. But that's all on the surface. Trust me, it is well worth getting into marriage as a study. You're living marriage. It's the main thing you do in your life. How could you not learn it? And no one teaches us, because most people don't know. So I hope this was helpful. And don't worry about hitting that like button. Don't worry about sharing this. I think we've discovered things that other people are not aware of. And it should be spread. People should know about these things. And I started the Marriage Foundation as a non-profit foundation. So no one would be getting into, how do I make more money on this? But more like, how do I spread this stuff out further? And how do we get more people into this? Because it's beautiful, and more people should be happy. I want you to be happy. In fact, blessings to you, blessings to your spouse, and blessings to your family. Thank you for spending your time with me. God bless.